Tony zipped through the crowded streets of Brooklyn on the jet propulsion systems in the feet of his Iron Man suit, and the laughing men followed. 3 grinning sociopaths with dead gray skin, broken up by occasional patches of charred flesh, covered in scars and stitches. As their eerie little nickname suggested, they were giggling like demented schoolgirls the whole time. "Guys, I know my quips are funny," Tony said, "but I feel like you're laying it on a little thick." Tony may have been keeping up his winning sense of humor on the outside, but on the inside, he was fighting for not just his own life, but the lives of all the civilians running away from these invincible murderous maniacs. One of the laughing men had butcher hooks on the end of a set of long, rusty chains. He swung them around with gleeful abandon, hoping to snare some poor innocent with the hook's business end. The laughing men saw an old woman desperately scurrying towards the entrance of a subway, the underground one, not the sandwich store with questionable choice in spokesman. He decided that she'd make a fun target. He began swinging his hooks and chains, eager to wet them with innocent blood. But half a second before he could let loose, he caught a blast from Iron Man's palm cannons directly to the face. He was hurled across the hot concrete of the road, giving the old woman a chance to run. But attacking one left Tony open to the 2 others. One of them was wielding a splitting maul stolen from a nearby hardware store, and the other a kind of terrifying serrated machete made out of scrap metal. These laughing lunatics leapt up onto Iron Man and continued their relentless assault, smashing their weapons and fists against the reinforced metal of the suit. This thing was designed to tank sustained artillery fire, and yet the melee attacks from these creeps still genuinely hurt. And worse still, the one he just shot in the face was already back up, showing no sign of injury. As Tony tried to fly up and get a better vantage point, the vengeful laughing men threw out his chain and embedded the hook in the shoulder of Tony's suit, pulling him back down to earth with tremendous strength. These things were impossibly fast, impossibly strong, and most frightening of all, they were clearly once human. Of course, while Tony had no way of knowing this, he was up against the results of terrifying SCP Foundation experiments here. D-class corpses who had all of their happy memories removed to act as an ingredient in Foundation amnestic projects. What remained was pure malice, evil in its most direct and diabolical form, completely unkillable by any kind of conventional means. In other words, Iron Man had his work cut out for him here. He activated a contingency plan. Panels on his suit opened up and released a vicious swarm of miniature missiles, target-seeking. Each of them found their way to a laughing man and exploded in an impressive hail of fire that knocked them off of Tony's suit. He was going to use the full extent of his tech to see how unkillable these things really were. Speaking of going against unkillable opponents, the Incredible Hulk, the nigh indestructible alter ego of mild-mannered scientist Bruce Banner, was facing off against SCP-682. The monstrous reptile had rampaged into Queens, where it was devouring first responders like a bag of Takis. The bullets that the hapless police officers fired simply bounced off of the creature's armored scales, but the Hulk's fists wouldn't have the same problem. As 682 lunged for him, he delivered a tremendous uppercut into the creature's slightly more vulnerable underbelly, flinging it up through the old brown bricks of a nearby apartment building. But that didn't keep it away for long. 682 immediately lunged back into the fray, jumping onto the Hulk's body and gaining traction with its long, pointed claws. It clamped its jaws around the Hulk's shoulder and chomped with a bite force not rivaled by any other creature on the planet. It actually managed to pierce the Hulk's skin with its teeth, causing rivulets of glowing gamma radiation-rich blood to trickle down the rage-fueled superhero's back. The Hulk roared in unexpected pain. He hadn't experienced this level of hurt in a fight since he'd gone toe-to-toe with Thanos himself. Almost reflexively, he grabbed 682 by the tail and began unleashing one of his most classic moves, the Hulk Smash. He slammed the creature into the ground by its tail again and again, breaking concrete and tarmac, but somehow, the creature still didn't seem to be all that bothered by it.
"Why won't monster die?"
the Hulk roared.
"I've been pondering the same question,"
SCP-682 said. It whipped out with its tail, freeing itself from the Hulk's grip, and began initiating its true ultimate power, adaptability. SCP-682 could adapt to counter and sometimes even harness any attack that didn't immediately kill it, making it actively more dangerous around powerful opponents whose abilities it might be able to leverage. And it had realized now that in order to fight the Hulk, it needed to alter its body plan and fight like the Hulk fought. With a cacophony of repulsive flesh stretching and bone-cracking noises, 682's body took on a humanoid and uncomfortably buff form, roughly the same size as the Incredible Hulk.
Such power,
the creature said.
and yet you choose to use it for charity. Worthless fool. I'll show you the full extent of the gifts you've been given.
The Hulk squared up and prepared for the fight of his life as SCP-682 stomped towards him, cracking its new knuckles. But Bruce Banner wasn't the only one engaging in the fight of his life. The same could be said of a certain god of thunder amidst the tenements of downtown Manhattan. That's right, Thor Odinson was locked in metaphorical horns with SCP-076-2, the anomalous ancient warrior known as Abel, and he was relishing the chance to fight an entity that other mere mortals thought of as a god. Oh yes, it would be such a pleasure to really push his limits like that. Abel blocked a crushing blow from Mjolnir, Thor's mighty hammer, with the sword he'd pulled out of thin air, skidding back across the dirt in his sandals. Thor was shocked. A hit like that would have sent most opponents flying away like a rag doll. Clearly, this was a fight he couldn't just coast through. His opponent, on the other hand, was beaming, showing off all his teeth like a hungry predator.
"I've fought Norsemen before," he said, "with their swords and spears and axes. Let's see if you can survive longer than they can."
"I am no Norseman, stranger," Thor replied. "I am an Asgardian."
Before Thor even had finished his sentence, Abel had somehow maneuvered himself behind the bearded deity and was running at him at full speed.
"Then guard your A's, boy,"
Abel said. He swung down the sword, but Thor wouldn't be so easy to defeat. He turned and blocked the tip of the blade with Mjolnir's impressive body, causing cracks of electricity to shoot up Abel's arm, a painful tingling sensation that the somewhat sadomasochistic warrior found to be oddly pleasant. He's just kind of freaky like that, you know. Thor unleashed a blast of thunder that struck Abel on the chest and knocked him away, a black scorch mark adding to the palimpsest of tribal tattoos on Abel's skin. It would be a scar he'd treasure for years to come, a memento of the time he fought and killed a god. Well, that would be how the story went if Thor wasn't careful anyway. Another swing of Thor's hammer shattered Abel's sword, but he'd already summoned another 2 weapons to replace it, a pair of deadly obsidian sickles, Abel's reaping hooks, and he intended to use them to slowly break down Thor's defenses, to make him weak with pain and suffering. The godly Avenger had lost an eye in his battle with Hela, the Norse goddess of death, and still wore an eye patch over the absence. That would give Abel his greatest advantage. He may have been a lover of battle, but he was still, above all, a deadly pragmatist. A true warrior knows how to exploit every weakness of his opponent, no matter how trivial. Abel dodged and spun around Thor, exclusively striking against the side of Thor with no eye with the deadly tips of his hooks. Thor's peripheral vision would be the weakest there, so he'd have the hardest time actually parrying every hit that Abel was dealing. And in the process, he answered one of the immortal warrior's most burning questions: can you make a god bleed? As it turns out, yes. Yes, you can. While Thor wondered if he could turn this thing around, he also found himself contemplating why none of his fellow Avengers had come in to help him in this fight. Tag teaming with Steve Rogers, also known by his patriotic moniker Captain America, might have helped him in battling with this homicidal monster. But Rogers wasn't just shirking. He was actually facing off against something far more truly evil than Abel could ever hope to be. On Wall Street, the greatest epicenter of evil energies within New York City, Captain America was facing off against a person in an I Love New York t-shirt, someone with a grinning white comedy mask that seemed to drip corrosive black goo down onto the shirt. He was facing an avatar of SCP-035, the Possessive Mask, one of the truest and purest avatars of darkness in the entire catalog of the SCP-contained Anomalies. As the two of them faced off, Steve could literally feel the malevolent energy oozing out of this monster, seeping into his thoughts. He was reliving the hardest moments in his life, fighting his best friend, Bucky Barnes, while he was a brainwashed super soldier, the death of Peggy Carter after a long battle with Alzheimer's, the unimaginable horrors he'd seen while traversing Axis-occupied territory in World War II. He'd never faced something that just felt so inherently evil before.
Oh, Mr. Rogers,
The mask intoned with undisguised joy.
what a beautiful soul you have. So pure, so unblemished. It's rare I get to destroy one as kind as...
The mask didn't get to finish that thought, as Cap's vibranium shield came whistling towards its head at incredible speeds. By twisting back in a manner that looked almost like it snapped its host's spine, the monster was able to narrowly dodge the shield, which swung back in a smooth arc into the hero's hand.
A rather simple move, don't you think?
The mask said, sounding almost disappointed.
Especially for one who's dedicated his life to ridding the world of evil.
I wouldn't put it so grandly, Captain America said. I just can't stand bullies like you. That wrung a sincere laugh out of the monster.
Oh, child, I'm so much worse than that.
With that, Steve ran in, holding up his shield and unholstering his pistol. He fired a bevy of shots at the creature's center mass, each wound leaking the same black ichor that seemed to be leaking out of the terrible mask itself. His eyes widened as the black liquid seemed to take shape into tendrils and huge grasping hands, each one capable of melting flesh with a single touch. It would only take one slip-up, and Captain America would be dead, or worse, taken. Speaking of death, there was currently plenty of that down in the iconic NYC subway. Two of the most weapons-focused members of the Avengers, deadly assassin Black Widow and bow-wielding Hawkeye, were facing off against literal hordes of the undead, something they never expected to be doing as Avengers. It was SCP-002, a deadly prion disease spread through bodily fluids with a truly dizzying infection rate. Anyone infected became a hyper-aggressive monster compelled to bite any uninfected people around them to proliferate the disease further, creating more zombies in the process. And Black Widow and Hawkeye had watched enough zombie movies together on their nights off to know how this catastrophe could go if they didn't put a lid on it quickly. The trains had been shut down to avoid hypercharging the speed of the virus across the entire city, but the platform that the two heroes were trapped on were still thronged with hundreds of zombies, all growling and drooling and lunging towards them. Hey, could be worse, Hawkeye said, drawing back an explosive arrow and blowing up a crowd of Z's. They could be the fast-running Snyder zombies rather than the stumbling Romero ones. Black Widow had a pistol in each hand, unleashing a barrage of bullets from both at the same time in a way that would make John Woo proud. She was an incredible shot, each bullet hitting a nearby zombie directly in the brain. But for each zombie she killed, 10 more seemed to lurch into the subway. "Glad you always look on the bright side, Clint," she said. For the first time since the dreaded Infinity War, it seemed like the Avengers were truly on the ropes. Iron Man was being overwhelmed by his sadistic, unkillable attackers. The Hulk was being pounded into the earth by the brand new fists of the modified SCP-682. The wounds being dealt to Thor by Abel were beginning to catch up to him. Captain America would feel the truly evil influence of the possessive mask begin to taint his pure heart. And in the crowded subway, the zombies were beginning to vastly outnumber the arrows and bullets that Hawkeye and Black Widow had left. Thankfully, they wouldn't need to fight this battle any longer. While S.H.I.E.L.D. may have been out of commission, the SCP Foundation wasn't. The time that the Avengers had bought allowed them to dispatch thousands of mobile task force operatives and field agents into New York City. Each one knew exactly what they were dealing with and packing the specific countermeasures needed to take control of this insane situation. Within a matter of hours, all the escaped anomalies were recontained, and the Avengers were given top-of-the-line medical procedures to help abate the wounds they'd sustained over the course of these fights. The threat was done, and while the SCP Foundation were the ones who dealt the decisive blow in the end, it was the Avengers who'd stopped the death toll from rising into the thousands. They were Earth's mightiest heroes for a reason. Now check out Saitama vs. SCP-096, Ultimate Bald Head Battle, and SCP-8012, The Hero's Journey, Feat. Wigglebert the Great, for more.